Good evening. We've already called the meeting to order before going into executive session. Now we're reconvening an open session this evening. Nice to see folks. And our first item on the agenda this evening is the public hearing presentation on the fiscal year 20 preliminary budget. And in order to do that, we need a roll call of school committee members, please.
Madison? Here. Millen? Here. Hill? Ben? Here. Timmy? Here. Mike?
You betcha.
Heather?
Here. Yes, thank you. And if I could, I would ask Joanne and Michael if they would present the tentative budget for us to the public.
Okay. The slides are about 85% the same as last time, so I'm not going to read to you the things that are the same. Mostly I'll focus on things that are different. If it's important for context to provide some of the same information, I will, but I think people will probably appreciate that. So the first thing I did in the slides was to show you a summary of the significant changes since the presentation on January 8th. And so we'll go to that slide, and I'll touch on these a little bit, and then you'll see more of them in context as we go through the rest of the slides, because things change often, both from the town of Montague and from the state significantly in some regards since early January. So on the revenue side of the house, there's an increase in the town's assessments by $77,000 in this budget. Chapter 70 aid, we now are looking at an increase of $10,000 compared to what we expected on January 8th. Again, that's still a moving target. The governor has put out a budget for all the districts, but the House has not and the Senate has not yet, so there's still a lot of horse trading to go, but we believe that's probably the worst case scenario, is that kind of an increase, which is a good scenario. Transportation reimbursement, there's an increase. We're expecting now an increase of $30,000 because we plan to bring back one of the two buses that were reduced this year. We'll talk more about that. Decrease in charter tuition reimbursement of $25,000. That's based on the latest state estimates for charter students leaving. We are losing a grant, a REAP grant, $20,000 for next year. It's got nothing to do with our performance or anything we can control. It's a grant that goes to rural school districts based on how the criteria change from year to year, and our shifting demographics won't allow us to get that grant in the coming year. And Joanne inquired about that. If you've got a question later about that specifically, she may be able to give you a little bit more information. Elimination of preschool tuitions. This is a change in policy we want to suggest this evening. We would like to recommend that we no longer charge tuition for preschool students in our district. Right now, there's maybe like 10 families a year that do pay some tuition. Most do not, but we believe we'll see more money by actually not collecting tuitions, because those students that we collect tuitions from are not counted as part of our foundation budget. And if we don't take their family's tuition money, then we can count those students as part of our foundation enrollment, and the dollars we will receive will be higher than the dollars we collect, and we won't be charging families. So again, Joanne might have a little bit more detail about that for you. Increased use of E&D. We are now proposing to use an additional $100,000 of E&D for next year, and we'll give you the context for that in the same graphs, tables we always give you about E&D. On the expenditure side of the house, we would like to increase school bus costs. Well, wouldn't like to, but with our new bus contract, they're going to go up about $45,000, and that's a regional bus contract that we've just finished negotiating along with the other school districts in the area. Retaining a Sheffield special ed teacher added during this school year. That was not in the budget in January. We did add a position to the therapeutic program largely at Sheffield, and now that we have a better sense of enrollment for next year, we feel it's important to keep that in the budget for next year. And then we would like to add a BCBA, Board Certified Behavior Analyst, for the coming year. Diane's written you a nice memo explaining that. We'll go through the details of that. And then these are the additions that are new. We also had a couple of new additions when we met in January, which are still there, and they're all together on a single slide, which I'll get to in a couple minutes. So that's kind of front-loading the highlights here. Now I'm going to skip all the way to slide 23. Everything we talked about last time about our strategic plan, our district improvement plan, and how the budget reflects our priorities. I'm not going to go through that again unless there's specific questions about that. So if you want to go to the projected revenue slide, we can talk from that a little bit. This is just the trends over time, which we talked about before as being pretty steady. So on this slide, you can see Chapter 70, there's an increase there of $229,000. Last time you saw that number, it was $10,385 less than that. Why don't I tell you a little bit more about that number by going to the next slide. So Joanne, if you want to go to that one. The second to last column shows you the estimates that we had for you on January 8th. And you can see that we projected our Chapter 70 aid to be $6,431,000. There's a lot of things that vary in that from year to year. Joanne's estimate was only off by $10,000, which was really impressive. So right now it's looking like $6,441,443. So one of the major points for the evening is for folks to understand the zero in the bottom right. For years, the Chapter 70 money we received only increased by about $25, $35, $40 per student. It was called hold harmless money because because of our declining enrollment, we were not seeing increasing foundation aid, Chapter 70 aid. But that number has been shrinking, that gap has been shrinking, and now for the first time in many years, we have qualified for Chapter 70 aid, which is not the handout of hold harmless money. It's real Chapter 70 aid, and it's, it's about $250,000 worth. So that's a really important trend that we explained kind of in detail with the Finance Committee and Select Boards last 2 weeks ago. So.
Michael, can I also add that because of that trend and because we're now out of hold harmless, that's the reason we're able to look at preschool and say, if we add students to our foundation enrollment, that'll increase our foundation enrollment, which will now increase our aid. Where in the past, it would not have increased our aid.
Thanks for making that connection. Going back to the previous slide, the next two lines, there's no change. Excess and deficiency, that's the increased use of an additional $100,000 there. I'll give you a slide about that in a second. Charter reimbursement is a decline of $67,000 from the previous year. That's an additional $25,000 less based on what the state predicts for us in terms of reimbursements. Each year, our reimbursements for charter school students declines significantly, regardless of what happens with enrollment, really, even if enrollment's flat.
One other thing to add about that is when charter reimbursement declines, that's actually good news because we have less charter students going out.
Right.
So because we haven't seen an increase in our charter tuition cost, we don't get any reimbursement. The reimbursement is meant to help you pay for that extra cost. Mm-hmm. So because it's declined, the reimbursement goes down.
Okay. The transportation reimbursement is $30,000 less than it was before because we will have that bus added back in. The operating assessment, that's an increase of $77,376, and I have a backup slide on that. I'll tell you more about that in just a second, I guess, because that's important. The next two numbers two lines are the same. Then going down to grants revolving, That's $41,000 less than it was on the 8th of January. That's largely due to the two things I just mentioned earlier, the REAP grant we lost and we no longer qualify for, and the tuition, the preschool tuitions. So Joanne, can you say any more about the REAP grant that I
The
did
REAP
before?
grant, it was actually quite good that the state gave us a heads up and notified us a couple of weeks ago that we wouldn't qualify for that grant next year. And it's something about our poverty and our demographics, we no longer qualify next year. We could qualify the following year, and they'll let us know if that happens. This was a grant we started getting maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And we just got it for a few years, and it was sort of a surprise when we initially received it. So, yeah, we did manage it well over those 3 years, but next year we won't get it.
The school choice revolving, the usage of that it's a $50,000 increase from the prior year, and that number is actually $6,000 less than it was on the 8th of January. Is there any particular explanation for that slight shift in that number?
That was changes in staffing that we didn't know about then, that we know about now.
Okay, in terms of retirements and things. Okay. The next slide, two slides ahead is excess and deficiency, and we'll spend a couple minutes on that. So FY18 or FY19 began the year with a balance, that's essentially like a reserve, of only $238,000. It's been declining every year. The reason it's been declining every year is because we've been building tighter and tighter budgets with less of a reserve to flow into the next year. Right now, we are projecting an end-of-year contribution to E&D of $346,000. When we met in early January, it was $200,000. It's up an additional $134,000. That has to do with how we're doing in FY19. We have more revenue coming in than we anticipated, and that was reflected in the operating statement Joanne described to you a couple of meetings ago. That line item of miscellaneous revenue was $200,000. That explains this to a large extent. We'd like to take advantage of that and just generally being in a better position so that we can fund the budget the way we'd like for next year. So we believe that we can use 150 E&D for next year's budget and still have an improved position going into next year at $434,000 instead of $400,000. So that would be a $34,000 increase compared to what we projected starting FY20 with at an earlier meeting. Okay. All right, the next slide explains the town assessments, the next two slides, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Shortly after we met with the Montague Select Board and Finance Committee, they informed us, they provided us with the good news that their affordable assessment increased by $114,000. They had more money to provide to schools. And so we adjusted our assessment accordingly. We wanted, obviously, to take advantage of that money. The reason you don't see our assessments going up to an exact number matching that $114,000 has to do with a couple of things, and I'll see if I can explain this without Joanne needing to bail me out immediately. When we first built the budget, as we always do, we come up with a bottom line number. It was a 3.21% increase, and we assign that increase to both Montague and to Gill. Then when we get the governor's budget, things shift, and they say, well, here's the minimum contribution for Montague, here's the minimum contribution for Gill, and those aren't numbers that we would have crystal ball gazed at. And then on top of that, funds beyond the minimum, we have to assign that based on the ratios of kids that we have from Gill and the kids that we have from Montague. And so when that happens, once the governor's budget came in, if we wanted that same bottom line amount of an assessment, Gill was going to end up paying about $52,000 less, and Montague was gonna end up paying $52,000 more. So if Montague didn't come back to us and say, here's another $114,000, we would have needed to either say to Montague, guess what, you need to pay $52,000 more, or we would have needed to adjust our budget. Now we don't have to do that, and the net impact for us is $77,000, and that's on the next slide. So if you go to that slide. Maybe the other direction.
27 assessments.
Oh, no, where is it?
It's in there.
Oh, this is the wrong I had a later
27.
version of this. Maybe you didn't get it in the slides. Did you get it in your handouts? There's a,
Right after assistant efficiency.
Right
is at
after.
the
You
top.
mean like this?
Yeah, it was right
there's
after
a
the one
second
you
town
had.
assessment slide.
With this graph?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one. All right,
Yeah.
apparently we don't have it in the slide, but you have it in your handout.
Okay.
This one.
So you can see that what I just described to you, the increase in their affordable assessment was 114,000. 52,000 of it essentially goes to covering that gap that was created when the governor's budget came out. And then there's an increased assessment to Gill of 15,000. So if you add the Montague assessment increase of 62 to the Gill assessment increase of 15, we now have $77,000 more from Gill and Montague as part of our assessment. And that's the number I showed you at the beginning of the presentation. Okay. The next slide's circuit breaker. There's nothing
Doc,
different about that. Yep.
excuse me, total increase in town's assessments above what we had in January?
Yes.
Whenever?
The 77 is the
Above
increase,
Jan-
total
okay.
increase, yeah.
Above January, not
Yes.
last year's budget.
No, above the January number.
Thank you.
All right, so circuit breaker's the same. School choice revolving is that $6,000 difference that we just explained a few minutes ago. And that's really, everything else is the same until we get to expenditures. So Joanne, if you go to slide 37. Maybe a different slide, 37. What's before that?
It's like
35, expenditure
That.
trends?
Okay.
Oh, there.
This is the summary of all the expenditures. And several of these lines have changed just slightly. So the administration category of $628,000, that's $4,000 higher than it was on January 8th. I'm not sure exactly what that,
High school accreditation, the
oh,
budget.
the cost of NEAS work?
Yes.
Okay. The next line, instructional, there's a $91,000 increase there, and that I would imagine primarily have to do with the 2 positions we've added. Next line, student services, that's a $45,000 increase from
Bus.
January 8th, and
The bus increase.
the bus, okay,
Yes.
so the bus we're adding back. The benefits and insurance line is a small increase of $3,310 from last time. And that's just the change in personnel that we've got. And then, that's it. Then the total is different by an increase of $144,745. Yes, Teresa?
When, on your increased expenditures, you had the salary for the new person, behavioralist.
Yes.
You had said in the reason for it that it would save money because we wouldn't be bringing in outside services to do this work. Is that reflected in the budget?
That'll be when we write the grant.
Okay,
So the grants are in here, but
Okay.
those are, we're still gonna spend all that grant money. We'll just spend it differently,
okay.
but we'll still need some transition to this position.
Okay, and then in the following slide, we explain the expenditure changes in a bit more detail. The first 2 are really essentially the same as before, and then all of the combined increases in staff compared to last year are now listed in one place. only the last two are new this evening, the others were there in January. An occupational therapy assistant, an increase of a .4, which is essentially 2 days a week worth of work. A bilingual paraprofessional at the secondary level. A middle school life skills teacher, we definitely need that now with a student, high needs student coming from Sheffield to the middle school. A secondary dean of students, I'll tell you a little bit more about the justification for that in a second. A Sheffield special education teacher, that was the one, again, we've already added the middle of this year. And then the BCBA position. So I think what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the secondary dean of students, and then we'll ask Diane to come up, and she can tell you about all those other ones that really fall kind of under her area of expertise. So I think the most efficient thing, I'm just going to read you this paragraph I wrote on slide 42 about the secondary dean of students. And I wrote, this is similar to what I wrote earlier, and we've discussed at 2 previous meetings. This position will provide a dean at the middle school, one dean at the middle school level and one at the high school level. Each will work with an interventionist or paraprofessional and report to the assistant principal. The current volume of behavioral infractions prevents the consistent following of intended practices for effective communications, for harm repair, and for learning focused consequences when kids do misbehave. So I have some data I got from Principal Leonard that she collected before she went on medical leave, and she got it from talking with the assistant principal and the current dean of students. And she just sent me this over the weekend, so you don't have this, but this is what she said, this is the kind of work that they all end up doing, and it's in 3 different categories. The first category says instances of direct student support or intervention on an average day, where they're working with kids who need help, they've gotten in trouble, done something wrong. The dean of students on an average day does that 25 to 30 times. The assistant principal 15 to 20 times, and the principal 5 times. The second category they wrote was consultations with staff to support specific students. The dean 10 to 12 times on an average day, the assistant principal 8 to 10 times, the principal 3 to 5 times. And then the third category is contacting parents or guardians or people from the Department of Children, DCF, Children and Families, folks like that, sometimes probation officers and so on. 8 to 10 times a day for the dean, 5 to 8 times for the assistant principal, and 3 to 5 times for the principal. So, in addition, earlier, a couple meetings ago, I provided you with a statistic of about 800 incidents in disciplinary infractions that occurred last spring between January and June. So those are just some numbers, but even in talking with the faculty last week on the early release day, people continue to talk about the fact that they have a commitment for the disciplinary system to be educationally oriented and prevention oriented, and for communication to be really important. A balanced system. There's times where this is wrong, you're going home for 3 days. That needs to happen as well. But they have a commitment to wanting to do things in a very inclusive and learning focused way, and people are saying that it's just really, they're just not able to do it the way they'd like to do it. So I really think this would be a key position, at least for a while, to help them achieve that work. The other side of the coin about this position is, and I told this to you before, I really feel like our high school principal needs to be a driving force for helping people improve instruction and to do things differently. And without a dean of students, without a director of teaching and learning, I should say, and without the coaches we used to have, without data specialists we used to have, they really, it's to the school's detriment to have a principal spending a lot of time. They need to be a leader and clear about all the things about the discipline system, but they can't have a good part of their day tied up doing that work. And also, the assistant principal needs to be an instructional leader too, at times, not as much as the principal, and we're just finding that that's really hard to do with the current staffing. So that's my little speech about a secondary dean of students position. Well, if anybody's got questions about that? Yes? Oh, sorry.
Did, what was the history? Was there different positions for the middle school and the high school? I mean, at one time, way back when, there used to be a principal and an assistant principal for the middle school and a separate one for the high school, and the, assistant principal and principal. Were there two dean of students before,
No.
or?
Until 3 years ago now, prior to that, there were always, there were three administrators. It was typically a high school principal, a middle school principal, and an assistant principal. I think that's probably correct.
For both?
No. One assistant and two principals.
Okay.
And there was an alternative learning teacher who kind of ran one of the rooms where we, where kids go if they've been misbehaving. It's internal suspension, or you're working on repairing harm. So that was, at one time, that was a Unit A position as well. So that was a slight difference. But with the reductions in enrollment, I know you weren't with us a little earlier, I just read aloud in executive session all of the reductions that we've had primarily at the secondary level since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And to make our budgets work, the high school's really taken the brunt of that, and one of those has been in an administrator position, along with a guidance counselor position, a graduation coach position, lots of support positions.
I see. Okay.
Did you want Diane?
Yes, and Diane, do you want to come up to talk about the BCBA, and then if there's questions about the need for the OT person or the ELL paraprofessional, she could answer those.
Sure. So I, as the committee knows, I submitted just a memo formatted document with some recommendations to the superintendent and to the committee for the district to really support hiring a district-wide BCBA. So I honestly can't think of a school district in this area that doesn't have a BCBA besides Gil-Montague. What the difference, and people may have questions about sort of the difference between a BCBA and what a school adjustment counselor is, and I'm certainly happy to entertain any of those questions, but essentially, districts, it's a complement to a school adjustment counselor. School adjustment counselors have more of a clinical case management background, social emotional learning, friendship skills, social skills. A board-certified behavior analyst may also help kids around social skills, but tends to look more at kind of the learning environment and being able to help shape behavior within the environment. Behavior doesn't happen in isolation, and so it's really important for supporting individual students, but also really supporting some systemic change. One of the sort of single greatest causes of teacher burnout is classroom management and behavioral challenges. And so what I would envision with this district-funded position would be for this individual to conduct functional behavioral assessment. So in special education, or even students who are in kind of a student support team process where they may not necessarily need special ed, but a team of educators, the parents are concerned about the child's performance. Functional behavioral assessments is a detailed sort of analysis of kind of some things that sort of an educated guess, if you will, about looking at some things within the environment, observational data on what's happening. So a BCBA could conduct FBAs for the district. Currently, we have to contract out largely for those evaluations to get done, and one evaluation can cost us anywhere from $800 to $1,200 for one FBA. So we do have a little bit of capacity in district to get FBAs done with our own personnel, but really we don't have sufficient capacity to meet the need. So I would see a BCBA conducting these functional behavioral assessments, supporting our therapeutic programs from the early elementary level to our high school level, consistency, staff interactions coming in, high needs kids tend to require, a lot of support, and so, as do their staff. And really their families. So I would see the BCBA being able to help support our therapeutic programs in terms of adult interaction strategies, individual whole group behavioral support, contingency plans, protocols, problem solving around specifically challenging behavior, looking at classroom learning environments and designs, and really improving, again, the quality of our therapeutic programs. As folks know, if we are not able to meet the needs of a student in district, it becomes hugely costly, and the cost of the one BCBA position is the cost of one student being placed out. So it usually tends to be a good investment to strengthen the quality and sort of the capacity of your in-district programs. And so currently we are contracting out, not at a full-time capacity, really just some consulting hours, and I would envision us being able to reduce our reliance on that outside consultant by having an in-district resource. As Joanne had mentioned earlier, that is we pay for some money out of our special ed grant to cover that, the cost of that consultant. I could see us like reallocating some of the money in the grant, on our special ed grant, for tuitions, or for there's gives us some other flexibility if we can cut $10,000 on a consultant by hiring a BCBA. And then the last way, a couple other ways that I would see this BCBA being able to be helpful to the district is really supporting classroom teachers. Sometimes, I've worked as a building administrator, I've worked within schools for over 20 years. Sometimes you can just simply have cohorts of kids that struggle to function as a group. And I could see a BCBA being able to, a teacher saying, hey, I'd really like somebody to come in and take a look at my 7th grade science class, or my 3rd grade class at Gill or at Sheffield, or wherever the case may be, but to come take a look at my class, because here's the things I've tried, and the principal, the teacher, the BCBA could have really a supportive kind of coaching conversation about doing some observations and really offering something to the teacher, sort of concrete, actionable items with some follow-up on how to support effective classroom management using evidence-based practices and such. And then, the sort of one last thing that I would see the BCBA being able to do is really supporting principals, building based teams, and helping us kind of look at systemic changes and how do we have a lot of, we have restorative practices, we have developmental designs, we have responsive classroom, we have a lot of social emotional learning pieces in place, and I think helping strengthen the team of really implementing those practices as we move forward. It also really aligns well with so much of the thoughtful work that's happening in our district improvement plan. So that's the BCBA. I'm happy to have questions about it. Sure.
Timmy and then Teresa.
You mentioned in the letter that was given to us, having functional behavioral assessments being done by this BCBA. About how much do we spend on that, let's say this year, or last year, whatever, this year, how much do you project spending on those FBAs?
It really depends on how many requests are made and whether there's sort of an agreement of the team that that's the evaluation that is going to offer as much information that we need. I feel like it'd increase our capacity to do FBAs. Right now, we don't discourage them, but we also try to look at what are we hoping to gain by that, and can the counselor go in and do some observations and make some changes or recommendations. So we want to be able to preserve our counseling time. We want to be able to offer an FBA. So right now, to me, to try to answer that question, I would say anywhere from maybe 3 to 7 or so a year are probably requested. Could be 15 or 20. You know, it really does depend on kind of the demand, the profile of students, and an FBA can cost anywhere from, as I said, $800 to $1,200 per FBA for an outside person to do it.
Teresa and then Cassie. I'm sorry, were you done, Timmy? I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
but you can go.
No,
Teresa.
please go ahead, go ahead.
You mentioned also in here that you use an outside consultant, James Levine and Associates. I currently contracting with, so you must have a dollar figure for that, since you contract with.
Right, it's a little bit muddied in that we don't have a full-time elementary school psychologist, so some of the James Levine and Associates costs are tied up with doing those evaluations. So if I was going to try to separate that out in my mind and have a figure for you, I would say there's about $25,000 in, you know, behavioral consulting, program consulting on trying to both help us meet the needs of some specific high needs kids, as well as really develop our therapeutic programs to, you know, to successfully meet kids' needs.
And can I add also that 25,000 pays for a certain number of hours, which is far less than a full-time BCBA would cover.
Right. So we'd certainly rather have our own in-district person.
I'm just
Doing the
trying to
math.
add up figures, and
Absolutely.
you're saying it, or Dr. Sullivan said it is a district position, rather than implying to me comes out of non-sped money, rather than some sort of a split. And I was just trying to figure out, it gives you easy out-of-district placement.
The other piece that the committee should know, and I'm not sure sort of what the financial impact of this would be, but next year, Medicaid expansion, BCBAs are a recognized professional credential like an LICSW that has Medicaid reimbursement attached to it. So if there are students who have specific BCBA consulting services as part of an IEP plan, then there are advantage to the district of having our own in-house person to be able to provide those services.
I can see advantage to that, but might I say, we need to be well aware of the Medicaid demands on specifications, and that
Absolutely.
they are fully met each time through, so we don't get a surprise. And now just let it go at
Loud and
that.
clear.
We don't want any surprises.
Teresa?
What happens once an FBA is done?
So typically, there could be some recommendations for additional services. There could be some recommendations for the development of a student-specific behavior intervention plan. There could be some recommendations, you know, particularly at the elementary level where it's a classroom. You know, sometimes there are shifts that can occur in just sort of the organization or the sort of some of the structure or the reinforcements that exist within the classroom that can improve, you know, change. Because again, behavior doesn't happen in isolation. So oftentimes, a skilled behaviorist is not necessarily trying to look so much at the individual, but really looking at what can be shaped within the environment to improve overall kind of level of functioning.
Well, I guess my question is, when you have a child who is recognized SPED, you have an IEP, and the goals are very clear, and everybody, parents, teachers, everybody is aware of what the plan is. How does an FBA work in regards to that? I mean, you have this report done on a kid, and then who's notified? How is it implemented? How is it tracked, I guess?
Right. I mean, I'm certainly happy to have kind of a more full conversation about sort of the relationship with that, but I'm thinking from a financial level. I mean, you know, IEPs are one thing. FBAs may or may not necessarily be for a student who has an IEP. If an IEP is being followed and an FBA is being requested because the IEP team is concerned that, we have all this information, we have all these goals, we're reporting on these goals, and somehow we're not making progress, or we're still struggling to sort of figure out what needs to work for this child, then an FBA might come in, offer additional information, and a specific plan is then crafted that is added to that IEP that everybody follows. So, it's really, it's kind of sort of the industry standard, if you will, is to be able to have the capacity to have that behavioral support position. And it can help inform IEP teams, but I think more importantly, to really look at more systemic things beyond the individual. Because I think that that's where we're going to see some of our best results.
Cassie?
I have a couple things to say. First off, any additional support people that you can bring to the table, are important. I think the needs are only increasing in our district, as in every district. The BCBA, I know that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I know that at younger ages, especially when academic evaluations are done, oftentimes they like to see some sort of psychological evaluation or whatnot to make sure that it's not, another issue that's hurting the academic and the learning of the students. The BCBAs, will they take part in that? Will they be able to do that? Is that something that we'll still have to contract out for?
Well, ideally, we'd be able to attract and retain our own district elementary psychologist, and I've been trying to work on that plan. But a BCBA may or may not participate in depending on the student, what the concerns are, what the team is bringing to the table. For students who have, again, more challenging behavior, for students on the autism spectrum, that person could contribute to a psychological evaluation, again, depending on those individual needs.
Okay. But that's not something that they would, I know every case varies, but that's not something.
They don't do psychological evaluations. They might contribute observations, or they might do an FBA that goes with the psychological.
And that couldn't take the place of a psych eval.
It wouldn't.
No.
No, not typically.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Such good questions.
Thoughtful. Did you want to add anything else about
Well,
the?
I could credit Linda Gordon, our OT, who did I probably should have sent this to you. I did a really very complete analysis of her OT service delivery hours, how much direct service time, consultation time, average IEP meetings per week time. So her total mandated IEP hours, and then travel among, we have to meet our IEP needs. We currently have a full-time OT, and we have a .4 assistant, and what this request that the superintendent's put before you is to add an additional .4. So to cover our IEP hours, and the assistant has to have a level of supervision hours. So mathematically, we're not gonna provide our IEP hours if we don't increase some OT service time. And OT, as people know, it's fine motor skills, but the more we are starting to see kids with sort of sensory regulation types of concerns, people talk about sensory regulation in relation to behavior, child's having trouble like sort of integrating emotions and managing impulses and all of that. OTs often get called into cases where there's sensory regulation concerns. So the field itself has expanded some, so it's not just, it's sort of well beyond handwriting and pencil grips. So, and we have about 50-something students in OT right now. So, and then the transitional, the high school position in terms of bilingual paraprofessional, or any questions about that, or is there any questions about the middle school life skills or the Sheffield position? I will say the middle school life skills position, I have been in close contact with my colleagues in Irving, and that position, we have some students moving up from Irving, and we also would really like to sort of have Turner's Falls and our middle school program sort of be the program of choice for some high-need students who are moving up. We feel like this is the school community where these children should be, and we want to make sure that our middle school life skills position, that teacher and that program is in place to support the needs of some identified children from Irving as well. So,
Teresa?
When it says there's a return, how long has this position not been available or not been filled?
We eliminated it last year.
Last year.
Knowing it would need to return, but that's
Okay.
just how stressed we were with our budget.
Okay.
But prior to that, it had not been there a very long time, so it has kind of come and gone.
Thank you very much.
okay,
You're
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Anything, Joanne, that you wanted to add to the budget presentation?
I don't think so. Here are the next steps.
And again, this is still preliminary at this point.
March 12th.
The committee votes the budget that is not preliminary anymore on March 12th.
Oh, I will add that the town of Montague, the select board will be voting their affordable assessment again on the 28th of February. So we could see a new number again.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I don't think it'll be
it's not allowed to go
significant.
down, is it?
I don't think so.
No.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So that finishes the public hearing on the next year's budget. Welcome to visitors. Thank you for all coming. And I know we have a lot of people that are here to help us out with some things that we have here, like field trips. That's very good to see you. Thank you. Perhaps we can just quickly go through important events, and then we can move up.
Someone-
You give me public participation.
Public
I'm
participation.
sorry, public participation, that too. Yeah, public participation, sorry about that. Too many publics. Would anyone like to come up and use our microphone? Come on up, and please tell us who you are.
Yeah, that's what the light thing. Called in.
Yes, 6.
Hi, my name's Abby Grassick, and I live in Gill, and I'm a parent of a Gill student, and I also work with a lot of parents, Spanish-speaking parents of many of the students in the elementary, middle school, and high school. And I just wanted to, I'm coming not with a formal proposal, but to open up a conversation, begin a conversation about, since we heard a lot of discussion about potential positions being created, about another possible position that I think would be a good idea. I'm going to read because I'm not great at public speaking. In light of the recent hiring discussions and the ongoing community concerns about inequity and harassment in the schools, I, along with several other community members, would like to suggest that the school committee consider creating a new position, much like one that already exists in the Brattleboro school system. At Brattleboro,
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
Could you speak a little louder?
Sure.
And don't move the microphone,
doesn't
it's
do
your
much. It
volume.
doesn't make you
The
loud.
Oh, it doesn't
microphone
make me
doesn't
loud.
help us.
Okay.
Sorry, I wish it
Sure,
did.
sure. At Brattleboro Union High School, there's a position titled Diversity Coordinator, and it's existed for many years. As I understand it, it's been valued and fought for by the community, and in particular by POC students and their families. I'll share copies of the current job description of the diversity coordinator position with you in order to keep my comments as brief as possible. But I'd like to highlight a few of the many functions of this role that I think might illustrate its potential. These are some of the responsibilities of the current diversity coordinator in Brattleboro. 1, offers schools a coherent, unifying social justice framework to encourage the positive social and academic growth of all students. 2, coordinate social justice training programs for district schools. 3, serve as a resource to principals and teachers who experience and are trying to solve specific social justice issues in their schools and classrooms. 4, maintain a diversity office at the high school and meet with and offer support to students seeking support and advice with social justice issues. 5, recommend local resources to parents of students who need assistance, advice, or more. And 6, initiate, plan, and promote school community partnerships and diversity program activities that foster such partnerships and promote student learning beyond the classroom. This includes outreach to local, state, and regional organizations that foster and promote understanding and cooperation on issues of diversity. Those are just a few of the responsibilities of the person who holds that role right now. The diversity coordinator position at Brattleboro Union High School is an example of a school district making an intentional commitment to integrating equity and social justice at all levels. I believe that by creating a similar position, the district would be taking a concrete and positive step toward addressing the concerns voiced by many in the community. Such a position, if filled by a talented person, could have many important functions. It would begin to provide advocacy and support for minority students and their families, build awareness and capacity in the schools, create a more accountable and healthy school climate for all, and contribute to making our schools a more appealing option to potential students and their families. My suggestion would be that the school committee research what has made this position successful in Brattleboro and valued by the community there, and that you consider creating a similar position with the direct guidance of parents and students who have been most impacted by inequity and harassment in the schools. I'll share the Brattleboro Union High School Diversity Coordinator job description with you, and I thank you all for your time.
Oh, thank you, and if you can give that to Sabrina, then we can all get copies. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Carl?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Carl Jur. I'm the president of the Gil Montague Education Association.
Hi, I'm Jen Renahan. I'm the 8th grade social studies teacher at our middle school.
The Gil Montague Education Association members of the Great Falls Middle School and Turners Falls High School decided to speak to the school committee at this time because we're deeply concerned about the state of our schools. Our goal every day is to provide a safe learning environment for all of our students to be able to thrive and receive a quality education. For years, however, we felt silenced, dismissed, and disempowered when it comes to addressing the incremental deterioration of school culture, which has recently ballooned into widespread instances of discrimination and hateful behaviors among students. We were saddened last month to learn that Principal Leonard's health crisis, and our thoughts and prayers are with her as she undergoes treatment. As she steps back and the leadership transitions, our school now finds itself at a critical crossroads. As faculty and staff, we feel compelled to speak up in hopes that we will be heard about what our community needs from our next school leader.
All right, so I'm going to start talking about what we feel like we need in terms of culture and communication. So as teachers, we feel like we need school leadership that will consistently articulate academic and behavioral standards to the entire student body. We need school leadership that will be actively involved in everyday issues that impact the education of our students. We want leadership that will visit hallways, that will visit classrooms and social times on a regular basis. We want leadership that will convey a personal interest in individual students and support teachers in addressing the growing culture of disrespect among students, which we see negatively impacting our school environment. We want school leadership that will intervene quickly and decisively in incidents of in situations where student safety is of concern and in response to incidences of racism and other forms of bias. And we really want school leadership, we need school leadership that will circle back to communicate with us follow-up plans and actions when staff brings topics to their attention, including student self-harm and also bullying. We also have some ideas around organization and implementation of what we're looking for. We feel like we do need school leadership that responds very consistently and in a tiered manner to student misconduct. And we need them to coordinate the relative roles of the RBR and the Justice Center, the Dean of Students, the resource officer, the assistant principal, and the principal in addressing student conduct. We would like leadership that would actively oversee student discipline at all levels, prioritizing the need of the victims over others. We feel like staff input has been roundly ignored in several district level hires over the past few years. This has led to a monumental disconnect between the district level vision for our schools and the reality of our students' experience. We implore the school committee to proactively ensure that our voices as teachers are heard and are valued in the hiring process of leaders for our schools from this point forward, and that our opinions about the candidates are a key factor in the final decision making and the hiring decisions for both the interim and permanent positions in our schools. We hope that the upcoming transitions will be transparent and collaborative and really focus on our students and their everyday needs.
After years of frustration with the operation of the middle school and the high school, we've reached a point where we feel compelled to address the situation. That point happens to coincide with decisions around this year's budget. Currently, the district has, and this was a number that has changed, so feel free to correct me. Currently, the district has a $358,000 budget surplus. The administration intends to place a considerable amount of this surplus into E&D, where it will not be available until fiscal year 2021. We request that any surplus be placed in a more accessible account. Over the past 5 or more years, programs and staffing have been reduced or cut to the detriment of students. Given the increasing student need and the diminishing resources to fill that need, the members of the Gil-Montague Education Association strongly urge the school committee to use as much money as is available to restore the needed supports throughout the district. GMRSD should also use some of this surplus to honor the effort of the educational staff who, despite shrinking means and growing needs, have worked tirelessly to deliver a high-quality education to the students. The members of the Gil-Montague Education Association request the school committee include time on the next agenda to examine more detailed suggestions from staff about restoring programs and positions throughout the district, which we will provide to the school committee before February 25th. Thank you.
Could you also give a copy of those to Sabrina
Yeah, I'm
for
gonna
us?
send electronically.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you.
Sure. February 13th, Music of Franklin Community Night at Sheffield at 4:30. Oh wait, these are already passed because this meeting was late.
That's right.
Sorry,
We should have
let
been
me,
meeting on
yeah,
the 12th.
sorry about that.
Exactly.
Let me skip ahead. February 15th, all school meeting at Hillcrest at 9. Also tomorrow, all school sing at Gill at 2:30. And also tomorrow, an all school meeting at Sheffield at 2:15. February 16th is the Friends of Hillcrest fundraiser, the Lego movie at the Garden Cinemas in Greenfield at 9:30 a.m. February 18th to the 22nd is school vacation, district-wide.
And I have one to add. I know it's right after the next school committee meeting, but people might want to know ahead of time to put on their calendars. On February 27th, which is a Wednesday at 6:30 in the evening, the National Honor Society induction ceremony will take place at the high school in the high school theater, and the public is invited. Anything else to add to our list? Jen?
Hillcrest is doing a book drive. New and gently used books can be dropped off at the public safety complex or at Hillcrest in the lobby. And then they'll have an event on March 1st where they'll distribute the books to Hillcrest students and families.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. Thanks. I think if it's okay with the committee now, we will move up the requests. There are 3 field trip requests, and I know we have people here that are here for that purpose, so if that's okay with the committee, we'll do that next. So So if we could, let's begin with the senior class, Tennis Falls High School class of 2019. Right after the budget stuff.
All right, hello. I'm Jack Catala. I'm the senior class president. This is Mr. John Wood. He's one of our advisors. And we're here to propose our senior trip to the school committee. And we have decided on a trip to Williamsburg, Virginia, where we will attend Busch Gardens, which is a theme park, and we will do an activity at Colonial Williamsburg. Attached, I think you all have a copy of our itinerary. And our class, we've already completed our major fundraisers for this year. And we have 3 more scheduled before the trip, which is a bottle and can drive, which we're doing right now. We have a dodgeball tournament that will be in the beginning of April, and we're planning on selling hanging basket plants at the end of April. So our class right now has approximately $8,000, like just over that in our account. So that will fund most of the trip, and with that money, the trip will be affordable for students going on the trip. It really won't cost them that much. And we're just asking the school committee to look over our proposal and allow the 2019 senior trip. And we look forward to hearing your response. I don't know if you would like to go over the itinerary right now?
Well, everyone has that. It's been provided when we got our packet, so everyone has that in hand. And perhaps if anyone has any questions, that might be a good way to handle it. Timmy first?
I appreciate you're doing fundraisers. I think it's important that everybody, no matter what their means is, can go on the trip if they wish to.
Yes.
And you said you've already raised about $8,000.
Yep.
And you're gonna have 3 more fundraisers. You think it's affordable for everybody. Now, your opinion of affordability and mine, hers, and his are probably very varied. How much do you think the students may have to come up with themselves?
We're looking at about $150 per student, which when you look at senior trips, that's really not a lot to pay, considering what students have paid in the past. And if a student in the class wants to go on the trip, they're gonna go on the trip. We're gonna find the funding so they can go on the trip.
Good, thank you. Bill?
I was just curious, looking at the itinerary, on the way home you have a stop. On the way down, it looks like just a marathon bus ride. Is that true, or do you have a stop on the way down?
That is true. I think, we're gonna stop for lunch. I'm not sure exactly yet. We have to coordinate that with the bus company. But we were gonna stop somewhere on the way down, but since we're leaving so early in the morning, any place we were looking to stop at, they weren't open on a Friday at that time. So we were having trouble finding a place to stop at and an activity to do on the way down.
Yep.
So that's why we don't have a scheduled stop on the way down.
But you will stop somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
My whole picture
Won't be the straight 9.5.
Teresa?
How does the sign-up process work? You know, with a $150 cost per student, how long do they have to sign up and figure out if they can come up with this money?
Well, we've had students sign up, and we're estimating about 27 students will be going. And we have a class meeting tomorrow where it'll become more official who's really planning on going. And when they plan on going, there will be mandatory meetings for both students and parents, just with more information regarding like paying for the trip and regulations of the trip. And that will all be done within a month before everything will be paid for the trip.
Anyone else?
Motion to
Mike?
approve the field trip request?
Second. And just before we vote, we appreciate the completeness of your packet. Could you please remind us at a closer time to the fundraisers, and we could announce them at the committee meeting, so other people could participate in helping buy whatever you're selling?
Yeah, that'd be great. And we are currently doing the can and bottle drive. That's beginning now and going until the end of March.
Okay.
So if anyone in the community has returnable cans and bottles, we'll just contact the school, contact me, anything, and we'll come and pick them up, or you can drop them off at the school and we'll get them. And that would be greatly appreciated.
Great. Good information. Okay, any other questions? In that case, all those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimously. Good job. Thank you. Have fun. Okay. And that's up. Right. And we have the second field trip in our packet is the Turners Falls High School Student Council. And we have the two advisors for that. Take your way up.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. So this is the same trip that we brought to you guys last year, about the same time. It's a 3-day trip to Hyannis out on the Cape. It's essentially it's a statewide conference for all of the student council organizations from all over the state. It's a 3 days, very jam-packed, full of leadership activities and keynote speakers and workshops and also some polar plunging in there as well. So, heard about that. What questions do you guys have for us?
Any questions about this particular one? Again, it's really nice to see such a complete packet, so we can look at it ahead of time and know what all the events are and that everything's been covered. That's great.
That polar swim or
Polar
whatever.
Polar plunge.
There will be
Yep.
a nurse the entire time.
No one is required to plunge.
That's
You
true.
plunge voluntarily, completely. And it's more like running into the ocean and running back out.
I might dip a toe in and then get out.
Yeah.
Bring socks, right?
Yeah.
So how many kids generally go on this? The whole student council, or?
It really depends on, we were awarded the Silver Council Award last year, which means that we're allowed to bring 12 delegates with us.
And how many are on the,
We have 12, well, we have 11 that are going, one that was not able to go, they had alternate plans. So we have 11 going.
Which is about pretty standard.
Yeah.
So the total maximum number is decided by
By the level
conference.
that we achieve.
Okay.
And that's based on like all of the work that we do over the year, and we submit it's called a binder of excellence, and it's all the things that we do over the course of the year, and you get awarded a level based on how much you do, which oftentimes kind of depends on what you're able to do, that kind of thing. So the higher level you are, the more students you can bring.
I see. Okay. Great. Any other questions? In that case, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Heather moved, Mike seconded. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you,
again,
guys.
if
Thank
you
you so
have other
much.
fundraisers, keep us in the loop on anything
Will
like
do.
that.
We are still accepting donations also.
That's a good point, and it can be sent just to the high school
Yes,
care of
please.
either of you, right?
Yes.
Or student council.
Or student
Yep,
council.
Turner's
Right.
Falls High School student.
Right.
Yep.
And they should give Sabrina the notice a good week before our school committee meeting, so it can be in our mailings,
Put it on the
and it can go on our
list.
Anytime there's, yeah.
packet.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a good reminder too. Thank you guys for that.
Do we need to give this to you for signature?
It has to be signed, right? Yeah. We can sign them after that meeting. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
guys.
And the third field trip in our packet is Gill Elementary, 6th grade. I see we have 2 staff members here for that. Good evening.
Hello. So we're here because 6th grade does an annual trip to a place called Sargent Center in Hancock, New Hampshire. It is technically owned by Nature's Classroom. but it's not the same format. It's and they focus a lot on a lot of leadership leadership, independence, character building, teamwork, outdoor science, unplugging from technology for 5 days. So yeah, that's what I got. I'll just let you guys, if you. All right, what do you want to hear? Anything?
Anything you'd like to add, Connor, before we open it up?
No, just that it's been a tradition at Gill for a number of years, way before I was there.
Yeah, over 20.
Over 20. It's an experience that the kids talk about forever. It's something that stays with them. We see kids going into the trip that are kind of maybe a little anxious, that they've never been away from home for this amount of time before, and they come back empowered. They come back feeling great about themselves. They come back just, I wouldn't say like new kids, but they have. They have a different perspective. I think it's been a very valued piece of what we do.
Good. Any particular questions, Mike?
No, and I just want the audience to know the reason we don't have questions is because it's the 20th year, and we're always highly supportive, and really when it comes up, about the only thing we discuss is how to do more of it. With that, I'd like to move that we approve the field trip.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second.
Discussion.
Timmy? Yeah.
Deciding whether to vote for it or not. I love to hear the kids come back and tell us about it.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I love to hear the kids when they come back, come to a meeting and tell us about it.
Oh, I would.
Is that a promise if I vote for it?
I will try to get some kids here to talk about it. But getting them to talk in math class is a challenge. So, here might be even more so. But I will definitely do my best.
And if they chose not to come in person, right, they could send a little video or they could actually write something. We enjoy that.
Oh,
that'd be good.
That I can guarantee.
Okay. And again, if you have any fundraisers, please keep us in the loop. We'll announce them to everyone. Okay.
There's actually one happening right now.
Oh,
tomorrow's the last day.
Yeah, final day of Penny Wars. Anyone watching? Penny Wars. It's a week-long thing of money. We raised $1,300 last year in just kids competing for a pizza party, provided by the 6th grade. And up until now, we've raised $737, and I expect tomorrow to have a lot of money to count.
Great.
And when we go and throw it at the school,
It's pretty much, yeah. It's kids get a bucket, and they each class gets a bucket, and they put any coins in their bucket, and they get 1 point per cent, and then any paper money they can put in other classes' buckets, and it takes away 1 point per cent. So if somebody throws a $20 bill in a bucket, that takes away 2,000 points. And last year and this year, it has been utterly ruthless. One class alone has had $89 worth of paper money put in their bucket.
And something else just worth mentioning, I think, that's pretty neat, is that the 6th grade at Gill, they use this as part of what they do in math too when they're doing their fundraising, and so they learn about budgeting and about planning ahead with money as part of sort of something that's integrated within what they do, which is so it's not just a completely isolated thing that they're doing. It's very well done.
Great.
Is the putting paper money in new? Because I hadn't heard about that before.
Oh well, we've done that. The few
heard
years
that.
we've done it. I know there's lots of different ways to do it. Every time I see paper money not being involved, in a penny wars that somebody does, I shake my head and go, that's where the butter is right there. Getting them to attack others is better than them helping themselves. They get more into that. I'm not encouraging it.
Not gonna
I'm just
comment on
saying
that.
That's what they do.
It's an educational goal.
The new math, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Might I say that we're getting thin,
We have
and
enough.
anything you need votes on, if we can
I-
tick them off,
Okay.
just as a suggestion.
All right. We can go to the things we need to vote on in case we lose some. If that's okay with the members of the committee, we could, as Timmy suggested, move up anything that needs a vote in case anyone else has to leave earlier. I know it's difficult tonight because we had to postpone this meeting from Tuesday, which is our regular meeting, but the weather just did not allow us to do it. So if we look into, the first one I see is subcommittee reports. We need to vote the warrant, subcommittee warrant approval that was signed earlier this evening at a subcommittee. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The warrant subcommittee has already signed the warrant, and we have the paper in hand.
This is the payroll warrant.
We are, yes, we are,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry, no. It's the payables. That's signed by the warrant subcommittee, the payables, not the payroll.
And that's the grants also?
Yes.
Then can we separate them?
They've already signed them, they've approved them. We are just saying that we have seen them sign it. You prefer us to divide them out?
Well, I want to abstain on one of them.
So,
Payroll, just so you know, I'm not
Yep.
dumb. I want to abstain on warrant number 1931, which is the grant warrant. So I'll abstain on all if you want to do all warrants, or I'll,
We can separate it out, can't we?
Yeah.
Okay, the first warrant is warrant number,
1932,
which is for,
and it's the general one. There's
Accounts
many
payable.
grants, accounts payable, $278,630.85.
it is grants or it is not grants?
It is grants and general fund, but not that particular
Okay.
grant.
Okay, other ones. All those in favor?
Are we supposed to vote if we're on the committee or what? I don't understand.
It-
Sorry.
it-
Because we changed the whole process, so now I'm
Right, because
confused.
we're actually following the policy, which changed, the interpretation of the policy changed at the state level recently. So
So
we've
we're all
changed
supposed
our.
to vote no?
No, we are all
No, we're
supposed
not.
to vote to approve
Approve.
that it has been signed by the warrant subcommittee.
Okay.
That's, or not, but we're just supposed to voice our approval by this vote. So,
that you concur with it.
Yes.
we probably then should have a motion and a second.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
So that would-
Motion, Heather, second.
Michael?
Sure, I'll second.
Are you seconding?
That's
Thank you.
sure.
Okay.
I also
All-
wanted
all-
a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So basically, the warrant subcommittee is forwarding a recommendation to us?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I get it.
and we're approving their recommendation.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the aforementioned warrant?
Yep.
Okay, it's unanimously passed.
The next one's 1931, in the amount of $11,739.27. This is the grant warrant.
It is just a single grant warrant. We need a motion. Heather, second.
And
Mike?
the payment, the payment is for?
It's for
we're-
multiple payments. It's, like 6 different grants are on here. So-
Which, and we did all have that information
Yeah.
ahead of
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have our second, Mike, do we?
Yep.
And all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, 1 abstention, 5 in favor, thank you.
Okay,
And
the
do we have
next,
a third?
yep, the next one is voucher 1930. It's a high school student activity warrant, $4,879.43.
We need a motion, please, Heather, second.
Michael seconded, I heard him.
Okay, Mike, thank you. It was quiet, but we heard it. All those in favor? Any opposition, abstentions? No, unanimous.
And the next one is voucher 1929. It's the middle school student activity warrant of $459.82.
Second.
Okay, get a motion, we get a second, now we're getting it, just in time. All those in favor? Unanimously passed. Is that the last one?
That is it.
Okay, so we've done that part that needed voting. We did the field trips.
Replacement is the next
We
vote.
need the member replacement, that would be the next vote, and that has a very specific manner of accomplishing it.
School committee member replacement.
I've got it, I had to tab everything this time.
There's one, there's two.
Okay, and there's a very specific method of doing this particular job. We received any copies of letters of intent, and they were enclosed in our packet that was sent to us previous to the meeting. A ballot listing the names of all who've expressed a written interest will be provided each committee member for the inclusion of additional names. The ballot will also include space to be considered to be the nomination ballot. And if anybody's wondering, this is policy BBBE, which comes directly from the Gil-Montague Regional School District Agreement. And we do have in our, do we need separate ballots? Sabrina, do you have the separate ballots necessary? We have copies here to show us what they look like, and Sabrina has the actual ballots. Each committee member will mark a nomination ballot for someone on the ballot, and you may select and check off only one name per.
Thank you.
Thank you. So please fill that out. And the ballot needs your name, your signature, and a check by one of the nominees.
So many choices.
I know.
Check
Okay, all
payable
right, don't let me get lost in the words here. Then a counter, who is Mike, he's our secretary, will, yes,
Yeah,
or
payable
X, or
to-
something.
Either.
The person compiling will compile the list, that's Mike, our secretary. He's nominated for that.
Good luck keeping those straight.
So I have 6 ballots, and Thomasina Hall has been nominated, officially nominated
Okay.
by 6 individuals. No other names were listed or checked off, so.
So
that's
if
it.
you would do us the honor of placing that name in nomination as the secretary.
Should I do that in the form of a motion? Or
Place
hide
it
under
in
the desk and,
Nominate.
Nominate.
oh, okay, so as such, Thomasina Hall is officially nominated to fill the position.
And we need a second for that?
Second.
Bill, thank you. And then we need to vote on it. Again, do we need I believe we need a separate ballot for that? Yes, Sabrina has it.
Oh, okay. Then we certainly
She
do.
knows. She's done it before.
She came prepared.
You're getting your exercise done, aren't you?
It's complex.
Should reopen it, I don't rewrite this.
That's a good one for the policy committee.
You can't, it's part of the regional agreement. You have to rewrite the whole regional agreement.
After I gave
No,
up my piece of
not gonna happen.
Oh, boy. Okay.
The state recommends you not open your regional agreement unless all else fails. We can handle it. Do we each? All right. So please fill out your second ballot.
How should you mark it? Aye or no, or what?
Write it and check it off, I guess, and sign it.
I guess to put the name and check it and sign it would seem like quite enough information.
Paul? T. Paul?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
This doesn't need our signature, does it?
Somehow I think your name should be on it. I guess it doesn't say a secret
It has
ballot.
to be
So it's
because they
not
have
a
to read the
secret
names.
ballot.
It is
It
not a
has, no,
secret
it has
ballot.
to be officially.
Actually, they,
Official.
technically, they sit there and read each name off and
Yep.
each signature off.
Very good.
So it isn't very secret.
You have to be able to read the writing, yeah.
Okay, William Tome, Tommy Hall, Jennifer Lively, Thomasina Hall, Timmy Smith, Thomasina Hall. I voted for Tommy Hall, Mike Lang, Tommy Hall, Heather Katsoulis, Thomasina Hall, and Jane Oakes, Thomasina Hall. Thomasina wins, we'll have to send a note to Tommy that she didn't get elected. One vote for Tommy. So,
We will
It's
notify
official.
her. Thank you very much, everyone. We will
Unanimous.
notify Thomasina that she will be welcome to serve with us until the next town election, which is in May.
sentence
And
runs out.
She'll also need papers in while she gets
Sworn.
in.
right,
Sworn
and
in.
she will, she will need to, the, Mass General Law says, the person needs to be sworn in by the town clerk. So I will let her know that so that she can join us at our next meeting. And yes, and then that position will be up for election in May. And she certainly may take out papers if she'd like to, definitely. They are now available. They became available this week. Yes, okay. Thank you. So we've done that. We have to vote on. Medicaid attorney invoice is the other vote. Is that it?
Yep.
So let's then go to the Medicaid attorney invoice. Well, I had to, this had so many things in it, I had to tab it so I can find them quickly because I'm supposed to.
Want me to speak to that for a second?
Yes, once, if people wanna find that, I'll pause a minute and then, the superintendent will speak to that. We've asked him to.
The fee here is, what you're voting on is $990.45. It all pertains to research and then the drafting of a letter to our auditors about our legal situation related to Medicaid and whether or not we have any outstanding liabilities and all that. But that kind of research and the composition of that letter is what was involved in this particular invoice.
And that is an audit requirement.
Yeah.
Is that about it, you think?
I think there's one more thing to go, because
Gotta approve the minutes, right?
we need your help with some inquiries we are receiving.
Ah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Oh.
Okay, but, so this is what we have at the moment. The bill is $990.45 for working on the audit response letter.
Motion to approve.
Second.
9:45.
Motion by Mike, seconded by Heather. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it was unanimously passed, thank you. Any other votes?
The program of studies is a vote.
Okay.
I'd love to have Kathy be able to come up sooner rather than
Yes,
later.
thank you for being patient with us. Kathy, would you like to come up now? We'll do the program of studies.
No, I'll do that part, but then, in case there's any
You come
questions.
on up anyway.
You
We'll
or,
get to
Matt,
you.
you or Carl could maybe answer better than I can if there's questions, but, and then maybe we could shift to the, update on civil rights. so
Sure,
Kathy could go.
absolutely, yep, yep.
Should I wait?
No, sit right now. So Kathy, as you know, as of yesterday, what day is this? As of Mondays is the, acting, principal at the middle and high school. And,
Thank you.
She's got a lot on her plate right now. She's working really hard. So, let's see, so Annie, and one of the things she wrapped up before leaving was the program of studies. Because we're all out of order, I'll find it in here somewhere, but I know there are 3 changes that she highlighted for you. One had to do with the logo, the visual. One had to do with a math class change, which sounds really interesting. And then the third one had to do with, I forget. A technology education elective in computer science principles and computer programming. So those are the three things that are different than last year's.
And we were sent all this information electronically, and tonight we have a paper copy in front of us as well. I, for one, would like to say, I think the new math course sounds like a great idea. Math in Everyday Life was what the previous course was called, but this is a revised version. It's a mathematics and business course called Personal Finance, which, interestingly enough, I tend to get a lot of comments in the community about the need for something like this at the high school level, so I think that's a great move. It's a high-interest topic that's been identified in our new Powertown in the 21st Century Project grant. And it'll include things like banking, loans, tax preparation, investments, home renting, ownership. It will go along with the mathematics standards as well. Very encouraged to see that.
Actually fits with
imaginary numbers. I'm sorry.
Actually fits with the new social studies standards as well.
I would think, yes, that's definitely there.
And it's available for kids is that what this means, 10, 11, and 12, but not freshmen? Is that what I'm?
I don't know, is that detail on page 21? That sounds like it makes sense.
I'm gonna revisit it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, because.
Yes, 10 to 12.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to make sure.
Yep.
And I'd like to also highlight the new computer science principles course as well, which is also offered to students grades 10 to 12, to introduce them to basic computer programming and web design. It goes along with the digital literacy and computer science learning standards. Again, really a forward-thinking program, I think, to have available. Very important at this point. Anyone else have questions or comments? Jennifer?
There's been a little bit of confusion about some of the courses not being offered that are in here, but I just wanted to clarify that they might not be offered at all times of the year. They may be on a rotating schedule, but they are courses that we would offer throughout a student's time at the school. So I just wanted to clarify that to the community.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Michael, any other comments? Anything, Kathy? Does that pretty much cover it?
Yeah.
And again, it's really helpful to have the whole program of study, but then to highlight the changes, because most of us have seen the program of study previously, and we've had the whole thing to look at as well.
And
Thank you.
just hone in.
And so I believe we need to vote on that as well, correct? I need a motion.
I move to approve the high school
Program of
studies. I was gonna say course of studies.
I know, I always. We have a motion by Heather. We need a second. Bill, thank you. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Okay, unanimously passed. Okay, our thanks to everyone who worked on that program of study. I'm sure it was a lot of work. Okay, shall we go to the civil rights work update? We can finish with the
Jimmy?
Yes, Jimmy?
I noticed it's 8:13. If we get back and keep in mind the 8:30 goal, it would be neat if we can finish the rest of the meeting by 8:30.
You put the challenge out, let's see what we can do. Okay, and Kathy has joined us. We have in our packet, the civil rights work update.
Yes, and I guess, I don't know if you guys would like me to read through this and explain things. Some of these are things that happened at the district level. I can actually talk about some things that that happened today in the school and are part of the Resilient Schools Initiative team that we've been working on. But just
I'm not quite sure how you would like me to proceed with this.
Well, let's put it to the committee.
Okay.
Would you prefer that Kathy go through kind of a quick synopsis of the information, or would you prefer to ask questions? I know we've had, again, time to read this through and have been provided the information, some of it previously as well. What's the wish?
The only thing is, I don't know if you realize, but if you discuss something that happened today, we have to be sort of general because it is televised.
Sure.
We have reporters here, et cetera.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to flag that.
Yeah,
And
no.
Beyond that, it's up to Jane.
If that's okay with the committee, we'll start there.
Sure, I mean, it just relates to one of the items in here, which is the National Conference for Community and Justice. And, you know, in the write-up here, it, you know, it talks about it was going to happen, but it actually happened today. So they came and worked with a group of high school students and then did professional development with the staff in the afternoon. And I got very good feedback from the staff so far around the professional development. You know, just really, NCCJ is really focused on anti-bias language and anti-bias work in the school, and looking at the community and how it manifests, and then coming up with action plans with the students for how to address it. And it's really about creating leadership among the students to kind of, you know, move forward. You know, they create the action plan and then move forward to trying to implement that, and their leaders in the community in addressing anti-bias work. So it's pretty, I mean, what I saw of it, you know, I wasn't involved in the training today, but it seemed like a really good training.
So this is the secondary faculty, was that just
So
high
then there was
school
the
or-
faculty. So
or
there
high
was, the
school and middle
students were
school?
trained and the faculty were trained
Okay.
today. So it was a long day for the trainers.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon, the faculty did a training session as well. And this was in, the high school program was in collaboration with Mohawk. We split it, so they sent 10 students and we sent 10 students and one staff from each school. So it was nice. There was a collaborative effort. And that will be continuing on to the middle school after vacation. And that will just be our middle school. So there'll be about 20 students that are involved in that and 2 staff.
Thank you.
Sure. So that's the, you know, the Bridges program. That's something that came out of the Resilient Schools Initiative team that's been in existence for a couple years now, which came out of a grant. It was a collaborative group of folks that came together through CSO. It was grant funded and involved our district and Pioneer and Mohawk, and we, you know, really looked at how to create a culture of resilience in schools. And then this last spring, the initiative to involve NCCJ was kind of started. That ball was started, and so now we're involved in the trainings.
I could add a
Mike,
few
go. Yeah, Michael, would you like
things.
to add?
Yeah, and, you know, people have raised some serious questions in the last couple months. They're important questions. Sometimes they've been a little pointed and inaccurate, but they're important. And the school is really stepping up in a big way right now. And I want people to know that. I know we've got a lot going on, but I would encourage people to read this. I also, on our website, in my superintendent's corner, I wrote a section today called Frequently Asked Questions about diversity, equity, and inclusion work, and so there's a lot of information there. But I'm just gonna mention the categories in this memo. So the information of where we're communicating our commitments and our expectations, that was done as promised immediately in December. Number 2, reviewing of staff responses to civil rights incidents. That work has been going on with faculty. I also have been in touch, I'm very excited about, there's a Smith College professor who's written books about the history of the N-word and then how to engage students in learning about it. She's worked in Amherst at the secondary school level, and I'm trying to get her to come work with us in March. And she's very interested in coming to do that. So that's another kind of thing that's going on. Diversity and prejudice reduction work for students. Kathy just mentioned some of the things that have been going on. And then in my report, my superintendent report, which is a different document, I wanted to highlight all the things in a similar vein that have been going on. I think the way things are going, I'm not going to read that all to you tonight. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on addressing equity issues, including student learning in the last couple of months. The diversity and prejudice reduction training for staff, we have spent time in that in faculty meetings, and then this afternoon, Kathy mentioned the NCCJ folks were here to work with helping beginning conversations with the faculty about understanding implicit or unconscious bias. That was a nice session this afternoon. People have said, do you know anything about the teaching tolerance standards? And I brought them to you all like when they were first introduced a year, maybe a year and a half ago. And I wanted you to know we're looking at having the people that produce those social justice standards come and do some training with us. I wanted to see if I could get them on our first, the only full day of PD that we have all year long is, you know, in the end of August, and they're booked, of course, by now. People, smarter superintendents than me figured this out a long time ago to try and get them. But anyway, I want to see if maybe we can get them for the summer, because those 4 categories of social justice standards are really powerful. They run K-12. They can be incorporated across subject areas. A fair amount of that's going on at Hillcrest. Yep. Yep. And then a lot of people have asked, is the school resource officer getting any kind of equity training? And he did.
He just did that, yep.
On February 8th, the day of understanding the role of equity in school improvement. And so that's something else that's been going
He was
on.
also part of the training this afternoon
Yep.
with MCCJ.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure.
So anyway, and then we're going to have the people from the collaborative, Sapphire and Ms. Green, Dr. Green are coming on the February 26th. They're confirmed to come and give you their themes and recommendations for work going forward. And I'm looking forward to that. And then finally, thinking beyond secondary level in our work of improving school climate, Diane and myself and Christine Limoges met with the executive director of Responsive Classroom 2 weeks ago now, down at the bottom of the hill here. And thanks to the Montague Town Administrator, Steve Ellis, started a conversation with them saying, you know, what are the chances of you kind of recommitting your time and energy to our local community? They kind of rose to the occasion and are very interested in providing us with substantial professional development at both the elementary level and at the middle school level in the coming year. And I don't want to give you a dollar amount right now until we kind of firm things up, but it's highly substantial, and they want to do it for free to support us, and we're really excited about that. And so, yeah. So thank you for indulging me in that, because it's important work I want folks to know about.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you. So, a new set of eyes in the building. And I'm sure you've heard what we heard, the concerns were. I mean, do you feel like we have a system in place to keep a handle on student behavior?
I think, you know, I think we are working very hard at that. I think that something that came out of the faculty meeting that we had on the 6th, where we really looked at disciplinary, you know, the disciplinary system and interventions, was that, you know, people, I think across the board, were really interested in seeing more restorative practices work, which is very time intensive, and you know, it requires space, it requires time, it requires a lot of like preliminary work with students, and so I think that you know, I feel like we're on the right track by bringing, you know, this other position in and being able to really do that restorative work, because to me that's the place that it, I mean, you know, the other things that we're doing, you know, there's a lot here, and certainly the professional development that we're doing, and then also the you know, just trying to really focus on creating connections with kids and a community, and you know, because that's where you get upstanders coming in and intervening, and you know, that is definitely, I see that happening. So I feel like we're on a good trajectory, but it's, you know, it's a complicated issue, and it's not something that is, you know, just going to be quick to fix.
Well, and it sounds like you're saying that that's because the staff wants to take it in a direction that's going to require a little more effort, a little more time.
And the
so
staff
being
is
responsive to the staff.
Yes, and from what the feedback I've gotten from staff is they're very invested in that. Really.
Sorry, we've heard a lot about civil rights and civil issues. What about just regular day-to-day disciplinary stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Can't use the phone in the hallway or whatever. I'm not sure that's a rule, so don't quote me. But you know, because we've heard a lot of things about a lot of things, but that's one of the things, and about consistency in terms of outcomes and I'm trying to say punishments. What am I trying to say? Consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And this is all going on at the same time.
Not sure I quite understand your question. You mean in terms of like trying to?
Well, maybe I misunderstand the emphasis in the material I've gotten. Looks like there's a lot of emphasis on civil rights, on bullying, on bias,
Mm-hmm.
and racism,
Mm-hmm.
as well as should be.
Sure.
But we've also heard concerns about the way things that aren't dealing with civil rights or bias or racism are handled.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to make sure that that's all part of it.
Absolutely.
The big pie.
And, you know, I mean, I think that there are a lot of things that go into making decisions about consequences and interventions with students. And, you know, I think it's hard to really, you know, understand sometimes why a decision is made one way or another, and I think that it's a complicated thing. And I actually had an idea for professional development that I ran by Michael to kind of help people to see what that process is like. But certainly the handbook, you know, is the guide for that. And you know, I think we're going to work on the middle school handbook for next year to, there's more of a tiered model in the high school that we created, or Rebecca Zuckley and John Carter actually did. And it's been really helpful, and I think for people to see what goes into intervening with behaviors. And I think, you know, we might try to do something similar in the middle school for next year.
Okay, and I apologize. I'm staring at you, but I understand that you won't have the answers to all these questions. I'm really asking both you and Michael these
Sure.
questions.
Yeah.
Sorry for
No, it's okay.
isolating you there.
Michael?
So the other document that accompanied that memo that summarized everything going on at the secondary level was this thing that says secondary schools shared understandings. And I really want the school to own this document and have it become their Bible. And it's not civil rights specific. It's this is our discipline system. This is our system for how we handle negative behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent 90 minutes on it. We changed a professional development day so that the things where there's confusion and not consensus were coming to the surface.
Yeah.
And that's started to happen. And I want to make sure they continue to use this document as a way for everybody to get on the same page about how we do things. And we're on our way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that deals with classrooms full of learners and teachers.
Yep.
Setting up norms and
Yep.
discussing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No, I just wanted to
Yeah.
point that out so people knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other, last thing, and I'll shut up. there was some, well, just, this is a school community-wide issue. Read a lot about the administration's duties and some about staff. It's just really important that the line staff, as it were, is intimately engaged in all of this. Because I mean, we're just hearing what's coming out at the end of the story. And there seemed to be some polarization about why it's happening is because one particular group isn't handling their end of the thing, or another particular group isn't. So there's obviously need to coordinate all the way through. So I just wanted to make sure
I
that
think communication
we're
is
supporting
key.
all of.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Sure.
Jennifer?
I know recently, kind of at the beginning of this work that we're kind of reinvigorating here, there was the staff survey done, and I know there was comments and things that we haven't read yet, but is that a way that if the staff are saying that they're very invested and they're really buying into this whole process of doing a little more time-intensive work on this, is there a way that we could use that staff survey comparison to get some data how we're doing, a couple months from now, do the same type of climate survey amongst students and staff, because a lot of people have been saying we want measurable statistics, and I'm wondering if that might be a way that we could get some measurable statistics that aren't tied to suspensions or discipline on kids or anything like that, but just kind of climate perspectives that we could relook at.
Well, we do,
Compare.
this will be the third year in a row where we do a school climate survey. And in fact, the school's improvement goals are in part tied to those climate surveys for kids. Now, the survey that I sent out in December to parents and to teachers was more about that whole affective thing, like how important do you think it is to do work in these areas? That would not be a good baseline measure of how do you feel this, discipline system is working. That may be something that we do shortly if we want a baseline, or it's something we do in a couple months to kind of say, here's how we feel we're doing with our commitments to procedures and to practices and so on.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to have something to see.
Yeah.
Is all of this being put into place, improving things?
Right.
What's the baseline and how's it
I think
improving?
having some kind of a staff component to that's a good idea.
Because the staff, they're the ones seeing it every day in the
Yeah.
works, so they're gonna know, they're gonna have a pretty good idea if it's improving.
Yeah.
And also the students, of course.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Anything else? Questions, comments? And we do have these documents, and these documents are available to anyone.
Yep.
Would like to read them?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for being patient through all of our other work.
Thanks, Ken.
So should we continue with the efficiency and regionalization and then just zip through the other quick ones, or what do people want to do? Oh, yes, we have some things in the business and operations report, some things that need votes, so perhaps we should go to those next. Joanne?
The first item is about the cherry sheet, so Michael really went through that with you during the budget presentation, so I won't repeat that. There is a budget transfer, so we are moving funds from the superintendent supply line to 2356 to provide reimbursement for a teacher taking a course. So that needs a vote.
And that's a transfer of $526 from the 1200 superintendent supplies account to the 2356 for course reimbursement.
So moved.
Okay, we got
Second it.
we got a motion by two people, pick one. Heather moved, Bill seconded, all those in favor? Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
And I have that for you to sign after.
Yes, yep.
I have an update on the Gill flood. We are gathering documentation for the insurance company, but we're just missing a couple of pieces. And so as soon as we get all of that documentation, we're gonna submit it. and then we'll start getting reimbursement back, less the deductible. Mold testing was done in the classrooms and the hallways, and down in the basement levels. So the upstairs, where the kids are, the test came back with very low and non-concerning markings. The test down in the basement levels, where the flood occurred, did show some mold growth, and so we're doing more antifungal cleaning, and then the vendor's gonna come back for another round of testing.
Do we know when they're coming back or not yet?
They may have already come back, I'm not sure.
Oh, so soon?
Right, yeah, they're
Soon.
coming back
Okay,
soon.
thank you.
Yep. The Montague lease you signed.
Extension.
It's just
The
an
extension,
extension
that's
on the
right.
existing lease. You
Yep.
didn't change it at this point.
Nope, we have till April 1st, I believe.
Okay.
And the MSBA roof, that has been submitted, you had approved that, and that's just in your packet for review, but it's already been signed. The last item is the transportation bid results. So we went out to bid with other districts in Franklin County, and the bid results are in your packet. So what we did is we put everybody together, so if we had double tier roofs, which is what we have the elementary roof, followed by the high school roof, or the other way around. And so everybody got the same price bid on that. If you had 3 tiers, 2 tiers, and as you can see, all the prices came in the same. So no matter if you had 1 tier, tech school, 2 tiers, like us, Pioneer, and 3 tiers, like Greenfield. They have a 3rd tier because they have a late release. The prices all came back the same. So the increase for us is a little steep. It's 13% for our regular buses. In order to even attempt to negotiate that, we need to accept this bid, which seems backwards, but that's what the bidding lawyers say, that we need to accept it before we can negotiate it.
Oh, okay.
We have nothing to negotiate with. And, you know, we have eliminated 2 buses, which wasn't really well received by Kosmeskis. So I expected that our prices might be a little higher because of that. So from going to statewide conferences, I learned that a lot of contracts are coming in closer to a 20% increase. And, you know, people are just, prices are really going up. So we get a 5-year bid, and the bid might come in kind of low. So for the past 5 years, our increase has been based on the COLA, like a local COLA for Boston level. So that's the inflation rate. And so some of those years, it was like 1% or 0, no increase. So for 5 years, they've gotten very minimal increases. So now, we're coming into a new bid. What we did is we put in a 2.5% COLA, so annually the amounts will be adjusted by 2.5%, so that way it's not based on the COLA. And so that hopefully will keep it down for the next time we go back out to bid, it won't be as steep of an increase. But I still will talk to them and see what we can do. The other part of the bid, so that's our regular buses, and then they also bid on our late buses. And on my report, you can see that we were paying for a double tier, so an elementary and then a high school late bus. We had them bumped up against each other, and we were paying about $160 a day for that, 4 days a week, and that came in at $225. And on Fridays, we only have the bus for the elementary school, and that came in, it goes from $125 to $225, basically a $100 increase. So that's where we see a bigger increase. Total cost for that is only $13,000 of the increase, which, you know, is still pretty significant money. The sped bus, we also bid on, that came in as a 10% increase. That's been sort of following the same as the regular ed buses. Right now, we're using our sped bus half as a regular ed bus, like as our feeder. So it's doing 2 things, which makes it reimbursable, partially reimbursable. The athletic buses were also bid on, and so you'll see that the minimum mileage charge actually goes down from 313 to 310, but the mileage rate goes up significantly. But I look back at the bills to see, you know, how much sense does this make? And for the most part, our buses are going less than 241 miles, which means we just pay that minimum rate. The mileage rate never comes into play. If we go on a field trip to Boston, the mileage rate's gonna come into play. If we go to like a state athletic contest that's farther out, it'll come into play, but very rarely will it come into play, the mileage rate. And then the driver wait time also went down slightly. So, if you vote to approve this 5-year transportation bid, then I will talk to Kuzmaskus and see if I can work with them on the prices.
Motion to approve?
Timmy, okay, and then second, then we'll have questions. Do you have a second? Bill, thank you. Timmy, did you have a question?
Is it right to ask who entered into this bid, or is that?
Yeah, it's public.
Yeah, tech school, Irving, Pioneer, Greenfield. Feel like I'm missing somebody.
And us.
Us, right, us.
Not Mohawk.
No, Mohawk
It's at
went
the
out
top of the chart.
for their.
It's right here. Yeah.
Oh, was
Tech,
it listed there?
us, Pioneer, Greenfield, and Irving.
Oh, there we go.
Did they, the type of route, did everybody that went out to bid get the same price for the type of route?
A 2-tier route?
Yeah,
Yeah.
two-tier route versus,
Right.
they all, let's say, a route, two-tier route is $200.
I got it.
Yeah, don't hold your chair. It's your eyeglasses. If the two-tier is $200, is it 200 for us, 200 for Tech, 200 for Pioneer?
Yes.
Since many, not the more urban two, us and another one, but the more rural districts, I can only envision that since they get more mileage or whatever, reimbursement or whatever, that their routes are longer. So their route maybe, because they're rural, so they got this chunk of money because they're a rural district. Being that we have Turner's Falls and more metropolitan, we didn't, my understanding is, qualify for that. But they, taking a long, long route, pay the same price as we do a little short one.
Yes. But when we think about our routes, our buses are full. Some of these other buses are not full, and they're gonna be looking at their routes also and eliminating buses. So, we did it ahead of time, and, you know, if we would have said, bid on all these routes separately, for each district separately, and give us a price, I imagine it would have come in exactly the same way. And we wouldn't have got the benefit of being smaller.
Another, just a point that we did have a second bidder this time, and I don't think we have had that in a long time.
No, not in a long time. We haven't had a second bidder, and statewide, districts don't get second bidders. So the fact that we had a second bidder, the price came in at $450, which is considerably higher.
Right, it
So at
wasn't
least we have
good.
something to compare it to.
But when you said we, you mean the group?
The group.
Yes.
You don't mean Gil Montague?
Correct.
You mean
Gil
the
Montague is
bid-
part of the group. Everybody
No,
got a
but-
second bid.
Any other questions or comments on the bid?
Just a point of clarification, so we accept the bid and say there's no negotiation, and are we bound to, I mean, I don't think we have, okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And if every single one of these districts has to vote on this,
Oh, right.
and if they don't vote, then the whole bid is thrown out. We have
Gotcha.
to start over.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passed. Thank
Maybe
you.
maybe we should let Boston know that the bidding process is such that maybe they ought to consider all of the schools out in this end of the state, get more money for rural routes.
Yeah.
Because we have too many students per square mile, so that knocks us out
Yeah.
as a district.
Educate Boston. Shall we go to the efficiency of regionalization project discussion, or should we go through the other items? Because I really don't want to skip any of the other items, even though they're short and not as consequential. I think we need to cover them. Thank you. We'll go to the efficiency and regionalization project discussion.
Can I just
If you could,
throw
yes, I
something
was
out?
gonna say, if
So
you'd like to start.
our consultants are continuing to work for us to gather data in these 6 areas that is in your packet and that I brought to the last civic leaders meeting. So what would it look like, what would state aid look like for a single district? What might the costs be? What would the personnel costs be in terms of a shift if there was a single high school, a single middle school? What might the costs in more detail now of a shared central office be than that preliminary thing they gave us? So they're going to get us what they can in advance of our March 12th meeting. So it won't be a huge detailed analysis, but I said, just get us whatever you can to help us reality test whether or not you all want to consider going down the road of a planning committee. I mean, and sometimes some of you all we don't like that we're planning committee, but whatever that was called, that official group that would advance the discussion. So I'm pretty confident we'll have some good preliminary financial analysis of a 6-town region for you to be able to consider by March 12th.
And this list really details the kind of information that we've been asking for at the last Civic Leaders Group meeting, the kinds of things that we wanted to at least have a ballpark figure on some of these things before we made decisions. So that's in the works.
And this is included in the contractual amount of money.
They perceive this as work a little beyond the original scope. So that's to be determined. They have not submitted a specific dollar request.
Number 1 on this list, I talked to Rob O'Donnell at DESE and asked him to put that together for us.
Maybe we can delete that from their
So
list.
he will be working on that.
Yes, we are. Jennifer?
Can we get an update, as to what we've spent already and what they would anticipate? I mean, they don't give us a dollar amount yet, but how much that
They
grant
will send us
is
a
what?
contract extension document for us to look at. So far, they've spent 45.
48,000.
They're spending about somewhere around 45 of the 48, something like that. Or billed us for that much.
Right,
I'm just concerned that if we're looking at this within several districts,
46.5, I
us
think it is.
taking on all of the costs to research it beyond our grant. I mean, the grant, that's one thing, but if it goes beyond the grant, if it's to mutually benefit more than one district to have these conversations, I don't think we should be solely paying for it.
Well, it's out of the grant money. This is still the grant.
But when the
still
grant's
grant
up, I'm saying, it sounds like you're saying this may go beyond what the grant.
No, it's beyond their contract, not beyond the
But-
grant.
So
There's
the
still
money-
$8,000 or so in the grant.
Okay, so we're not talking about
No,
going
we're not
beyond the
talking about
grant
using
money.
our
Okay.
own district funds for
No.
any of this.
Okay.
Good question. No, we are not.
Okay.
Did I read the wrong year when all of this was to be to us? Was it November 15th of 2019?
The
I read
grant
it as-
expires in June, next
Oh.
June.
Because I remember November 15th, their work was to be completed by.
Well, they don't see this work on this sheet of paper as what was originally requested from them.
Right.
So you have a steering committee,
Mhm.
and at some point, would the steering committee like to maybe reconnect with the school committee to see if there are questions about the process or the progress, and whether we want to continue to operate in this? I mean, I'm not thrilled with the output so far,
Mhm.
frankly, and the money, it's a lot of money, I know it's grant money, but there's no reason to, what's the word I'm looking for, waste it. So I don't, and we appointed you guys to do that, and that's, if you're comfortable where you're at, that's okay, reporting back. I'm just saying that you should, if you need to bounce anything off us, please feel free.
Well, I think it's helpful to know how people feel about it. I think it is helpful. I think contracts can be interpreted different ways by different people. When there's a large scope of work to be done, unfortunately.
Yep.
But I hear the sentiment. I do. I do.
Thank you.
I think Joanne does beautiful work. And I don't know if she's gonna be too happy about my saying that, but I'd be very comfortable with the data she gave us. Should I word it that way?
One more
Mike,
question.
yeah.
So, looking at the categories of information, further information, I mean, some of those are gonna require some assumptions. Do we expect to get a real good idea of what their assumptions are and how they're justifying them or not? Like, especially central office, what positions might exist? Well,
Yeah, I
that's,
mean,
that's
it
a
would
little
be-
loose,
Yeah.
might.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Well, it would be very, it is very specific. It's, these would be the jobs, this would be the pay. You would see an Excel spreadsheet saying this is what it might look like.
And those are
Versus the cost right now in two silos, like this is what administration costs in Gilmontague and FY19, this is what it cost in Pioneer, this is what we think it would cost with this configuration if you have a combined one.
And information that informs that is provided by our central office. Joanne and Michael are providing the data that they base it on.
so they're gonna be looking at how they can replicate the services we currently have in that combined situation. The reason I'm asking is because we probably wanna have a larger capacity.
Yes,
Considering
right.
the
So-
limitations
So
on
one
our
of the
capacity
things,
currently.
I'll give you a good example, like, so, like we might say, we want a data person, we want a technology person, we want a superintendent. This is how fluid this is. This is a really good example, because you might say, we want a dean of, I'm stuck with this dean of students thing. You might want a director of teaching and learning, right? And so that's a pretty standard position. Or, what I'm interested in them thinking about is maybe you want an assistant superintendent for, let's say, 3 years, while you're making all of these big transitions. Someone's gotta mind the store, someone's gotta make things happen. And so what these two consultants are good at, like lobbyists people are good at, saying, they are talking to DESE right now about, could there be transition funds for something like a assistant superintendent, recognizing that it might morph into a director of teaching and learning after a period of like 3 years. And so that's the kind of thing that they are planning on spelling out for us in terms of both cost and in terms of talking with DESE about, can you sweeten the pot a little bit somehow to make this something these folks might be willing to go with. And in addition, they're talking to DESE about things like the hold harmless, like if they're saying, Gil Montague has just climbed out of this hold harmless place. If they partner up with Pioneer, is there any way we can structure this so Gil Montague doesn't return to those hold harmless days? And it's a serious conversation, apparently, where the state is saying, we're interested in making this work, we're not sure right now, let's keep talking about it, so.
But that's part of the scope of the contract? That seems pretty complicated and time-consuming.
I would say yes, I mean, they are having those conversations and, on our behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it also provides to us some information about how in-depth the questions are that we're asking. Because we want to make sure that we haven't missed any information that would go into any decisions we're going to make.
So there's a thing, I mean, what I'm trying to help them do, because is provide you with some preliminary and only kind of really financial data, so you can make your decision about, do we want to have one of those real committees that gets all the players together to then do the deep dive. So they're not doing the deep dive themselves right now. So that's where we're kind of drawing some lines. It's like you can, if you want quick information, it's not going to be as sophisticated.
Teresa?
At the meeting, the sentiment was expressed that before we go forward with the actual group that would look at regional, forming this new group, that you would have to see if it was economically viable.
Right.
So how, among this group, how do you decide that? Is my question, how do you determine that it is economically viable, given preliminary, the sort of ephemeral kind of things that you're talking about here?
Well, I think the idea is that we need at least enough information to know if we want more information. I know that's a little odd, but the more information is, as Michael said, is the deeper dive. If we look at this preliminary information and it doesn't look feasible, we don't want to necessarily make a commitment to go further. But if it looks like it isn't unreasonable, and we've gotten those questions answered by the state about anything that might put us at a financial disadvantage, or anything that might put us at a financial advantage, we need that information to decide, do we want to go down that road or a different road?
So that should come out of this new round of information that is
Yeah,
being.
if you look at these 6 things,
Yes.
yes.
All that information would be enough.
For example, I'm trying to help the consultants out with this a quick look at forming a single high school, let's say, or a middle school, right? So I spent a couple hours saying, what are the high schools in Massachusetts that have 430, 400 kids in them, because that's how many, if you just took the current Pioneer, okay? And what's their staffing like? What's their Unit A staffing? And then I'm asking the consultants to take a look at their program of studies. Does it look like it's pretty comprehensive? Like, are there a full complement of English classes? The honors kids aren't in with the college prep, and the APs there, and all. And so if they've got a high school like that has 48 teachers, and we combined with Pioneer have 46, do we kind of say, well, maybe we'd reduce 2 positions and that's $120,000, or do we think we're more likely to have the same kind of level of staffing that high school had, and then maybe there's no cost savings in that number 2 out of these 6 things. So so that's the kind of quick dollar comparison that we're trying to do, or what we're asking them to do.
This hold harmless is a very critical thing to look into.
Yes. Well, and the fact that
That's
we've been out of it.
deal maker or breaker right there. Well, not necessarily maker, but it's a deal breaker.
Right. Because now we're out of hold harmless and we're into
After how many
getting
years?
additional funding. Over 200,000 this year in additional funding. That's critical to adding back things.
I mean, we've worked so hard.
Yes.
And as they brought up at the meetings, that Montague's population, if you think of the 6 towns, if I understood it correctly, Montague's population equals, sort of, the other 5 towns. So throws a weird kink into it. For
So
school
we are,
committees and things.
you know, actively
It's-
pursuing the other information. And fortunately, Michael and Joanne are
Doing a lot of the work.
guiding the work. That's it. Bill?
Can you gain some of that, the information you're looking for through just looking at the cherry sheets for the different regions?
Well, it depends on which of these which of these items you're talking about, but
I'm talking about simply, I would think that you could get an overview of the financial aspect of joining the two units by looking at student population and plugging that into the state formula, and then looking at the Chapter 70 money that they all get, and discounting the hold harmless stuff. You would have to ask if Pioneer hypothetically disappears, then does any of their stuff go with them? If they're no longer a region, then the state has got to figure out with them how to settle whatever issues they have for an entity that is then going to disappear. It would be, a weird scenario could be that Pioneer decides to shut down and tuition all their kids here. And that way their region would still exist, but the kids would arrive at Pioneer, get on a different bus, hypothetically, and come here every day. And all Pioneer needs is one person, ombudsman, to write the checks and send them here.
well, you'd have to figure out the tuition costs to the receiving district, and then you'd have to figure out what to do with all
Which
the
are
all the retirement expenses that
which are
Pioneer
all
would
done
have,
through formula.
millions of dollars of debt and that.
I'm just saying, I can imagine that it wouldn't be too hard to look at total finances as they exist today and discount staffing changes and see if that kind of money lightens your day or clouds it.
Yep, and that's what they're, Mark Abraham said, he's this number 1 section, he said he's done this a number of times, won't take him very long to do that. Yep.
Okay.
I did take a look at some of that stuff, and that's why I talked to Rob O'Donnell
From Desi.
And what my concern is when I look at the foundation budget, so Gil Montague has more economically disadvantaged students. So we get a higher dollar amount for each and every one of them than what Pioneer has. Pioneer has a lower economically disadvantaged population, and so our dollar amount for those particular kids would decrease, theirs would increase. We would land somewhere in the middle. ELL students, we have a higher population of those than Pioneer. If we look at just that, and the fact that they're in hold harmless and we're not, there's so many moving parts that I can't recreate those numbers and see where we would land, and that's why I asked them to look at it for us. Then the other thing you look at is the buses, right? So we're down to 5 buses. We have 5 buses for our 1,000 students, and Pioneer has 11 buses. They have to pay for those 11 buses. So, you know, that's another big cost that then you share. So there's a lot of big pieces that have to be looked at that, you know, some of the state aid one is certainly not something that I could recreate because of the moving pieces in there. But Desi does have the technology.
Good. Anything else on that? Thank you. Let's go back to the parts we skipped and go through them quickly. Do we have a student report?
Sort of.
Okay. We've agreed that Heather will be the liaison with the student rep, and she will get in touch with her or vice versa before each meeting and bring any information that they'd like brought.
If they can't make it.
Yes, if they can't make it, thank you.
Yeah. And I do have permission to share this update. So, some of do you want me to say who was there or just say we had that?
I think.
Okay. So we had a joint school committee student council meeting where we met with their executive board. It was really great. I love meeting with the kids.
Me too.
That was actually in January, the end of January. So I do have to read these, and they're not super detailed. So, oh yeah, see, they're already. They had something at the Elks, a fundraiser for the Hyannis field trip that they brought to us today. So I won't mention that. Hopefully they did great. They gave us an update on just things they've been doing. Booster Week and Unity Day. Sounds like they're going to be at the end of May. They're getting pumped up for that. So February 1st, they had a WMASC annual roundtable. So it's the school, the school council can meet up with other area, the Western Mass, other school committees at the Bluebonnet Diner in Northampton, where they discuss topics that can help them improve their councils. And then we asked them about school climate, and they had some really great input, super insightful, that I think can help us. I don't know how we're going to share that. I think we'll leave it to them.
Yes, I think we didn't get permission to share specifics, just that we had a discussion, which was great. And it's always great to meet with the students.
It really is. I really highly suggest anytime you guys can make it. I know it's in the middle of the day usually.
It's hard.
And it's 30 minutes though, so if there's any way, it's really, really nice to see them.
Thank you. Irving, anything, Teresa?
No, I did have a question from the committee about the process for hiring the new principal, but the meeting was on Monday, and I said, well, that's upcoming, so I don't have any, but they are interested in what the process will be, so.
Mm-hmm. And actually, that is coming up in our reports tonight.
Right.
Yep.
We're reporting that further on. Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, it's a good night to have a long one, so no, I'm gonna skip all of number one. I had lots of things about cool stuff going on in schools, and it's there for you to read. Number two, I'm pleased to announce that we've hired an interim assistant principal for the middle and high school. Mike Dupree will start on Monday after vacation and work through the end of the school year. Mr. Dupree was principal of the K-8 public school in Winchester, New Hampshire the last 2 school years. Prior to that, he was an interim principal and longtime assistant principal and football coach at Pioneer Valley Regional School. Mr. Dupree comes highly recommended as a student-centered administrator with expertise in promoting a positive school culture and climate. I'm sure you'll join me in welcoming Mike, and we'll have him come to a meeting and introduce himself, and he's very well known in the area. So, looking forward to that. Very glad he was available. Next item, Principal Leonard, I mentioned before, began her medical leave on Monday. She'll return to work as soon as she's able. As you know, she'll be resigning her position at the conclusion of the school year, and I'd like to begin the search process for her replacement right after vacation. And I wanted to share with you the information from our previous secondary principal search process. So this is a little summary of what we did. In the spring of 2015, a search committee of 11 people was appointed to join the superintendent in selecting 2 finalists. The plan was then to have a smaller group from that committee visit the schools of each of the finalists, have the finalists come to the district for a school tour, for meet and greet sessions, a public question and answer session, and then a second interview with the superintendent. The members of the search committee then were 1 student, 1 middle school parent, 1 high school parent, 1 school committee member, 4 faculty members, 2 non-teaching staff members, and 1 other administrator. Prior to reviewing applications and conducting interviews, the search committee reviewed the results of questionnaires provided to staff and other stakeholders. I almost attached that, but then decided not to. We have that questionnaire still. About the most important qualities they desired, similar to some of the qualities you just heard from Jen, in a new school leader. So that's item number 3. Item number 4, in your packet is a copy of the legislation filed by Senator Comerford and Representative Blais, directing DESE to study our proposal to create a low enrollment adjustment factor intended to provide additional state funding for schools with enrollments of 1,300 students or fewer. And these are districts that cost, on average, $1,973 per pupil less, or 13.4% less to operate than the rest of the districts in the state.
Additional.
Yeah, additional. So I'm very, very pleased that our representatives have taken this action on our behalf.
If I could just interject there, that is in your packet. And actually, that proposal came from our superintendent. Michael came up with that proposal himself and has presented it to them, and they're taking it forward to the state level. So thank you.
Sure.
I have a quick question. How was the enrollment of 1,300 arrived at?
Because that's where the costs really seem to break. That's where the costs really jump and get a lot higher, right about that level.
Okay.
Next item, two more quick items. I think the design team of the Power Town in the 21st Century project meets next. They meet next on February 27th. Unfortunately, that's the day after our next school committee meeting. I really would like them to give you an update as soon as they can about where things stand. It's a little tricky now with Andy not around, but they said they can give me something in writing to share at the next school committee meeting. It'll be kind of short. It won't be like they're full-blown, here's where we are. But given what we've been talking about at the civic leaders meetings and this talk about with Pioneer, I thought you should have some sense of the scope of what they're thinking about, at least for the fall. And one more thing, sophomore Olivia Whittier qualified for the state swim championship. Olivia will compete Saturday night at Boston University in the 100-meter breaststroke competition. So we wish her well in that. And then I didn't put this in your report, but I wanted to mention that on February 4th, I met with Jennifer Lively and Principal Burstein and Montague Town Clerk Deb Bourbeau and Town Administrator Steve Ellis to discuss alternative polling locations to Hillcrest Elementary School. It was a really productive meeting, and Deb is investigating a couple of leads, one of which, both of which were provided by Jennifer in her own kind of legwork. So we'll let you know how that goes.
Thank you. Great. Any questions about that? Okay. And anything we missed on your report, Joanne? No. I think you covered it all, and we voted what we needed. Any other school committee reports? Policy, we'll have a packet in our next one. We've finished 2 meetings and have gone through a big packet of information we'll be bringing to you for your approval. Any other subcommittees at the moment? Okay. I believe we're down to approval of minutes. Is there anything else people can see that we missed?
The secondary principal search process, is
Oh,
that
I'm
what
sorry.
you sort of just
Yes.
covered, or do we have additional?
No, there's a little more information on
Okay.
that. Thank you. When we skip around, I get a little less clear. We've included in your packet just the documents that govern that process. The Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 59B is included, which states the superintendent of a school district shall appoint the principals. And then we also included our policy, did we? Yes, it's on the back, I'm sorry. GCF, professional staff hiring, which refers to the search committee that Superintendent Sullivan mentioned in his report. And that's, it's just a general reference to the fact that the person appointing, in this case the superintendent, needs to establish a representative screening committee. The administrator has the final say in determining who will be hired, but it's expected the screening committee's input will factor in. And so that's why we have that information on how it's done in the past, and we've expected that it will continue that way. Teresa?
How long do you anticipate this process to take?
Probably 8 weeks or so. 6 weeks, 8 weeks,
8 weeks, starting with what?
the beginning.
Which is?
Posting the job,
Okay.
right away.
Okay.
And then gathering input from people about the qualities they're looking for and about appointing a committee and then waiting. Typically, sometimes we will leave a posting open only 10 days or 2 weeks. This one, I think, it'll be open somewhat longer than that, yeah. And then, our candidates last time, neither of them were sitting principals in a school nearby, so we didn't do site visits. Annie had come from England, and the other guy, I think, had already left a Vermont job. So that's an important piece that we will do.
Well, that's why I was asking about time, because you're gotta get all these people to a school in some cases, so
Right.
that's, getting everybody on the same schedules can be real tough.
Yep, I've done this a few times now, several times, so, yep, we can pull it together.
Okay.
Any other questions, Jennifer?
I saw in the, kind of the summary of what you did last time, that you did some questionnaires to staff and other stakeholders about important qualities they desired in a new school leader. I think that's something that we could probably get a jump on. I know that the community has expressed, desire to be part of the process. I don't know if we want to consider adding somebody from the town to be included with the staff and administrators and other folks listed.
Someone that doesn't wear one of those specific hats, but lives in the
like a
community.
parent or.
Well,
Parents
they're
are on there.
parents.
Two parents,
Parents are on
okay,
there.
so maybe.
And I'm not saying it's gonna look like this, I
Right,
just
not
wanted to say
necessarily,
that's what it
but
was last time.
It says, I mean, that there's surveys to staff and other stakeholders. I assume like that would be, parents of the kids in the school.
Yeah, and we didn't,
whatnot,
I don't
but-
think we did a lot. I found some emails and things about things we put out to parents, but, and this is what, I'm looking for your ideas. If you think there ought to be like, forum kinds of things, not just surveys, but like.
I just think that it sounds like a lot of people have opinions on what they'd like to see in the new school leader, so I think we should have an opportunity for them to express those things,
Yeah.
like the folks coming tonight to talk to us about what
Mhm.
they'd like to see. There's been some community members that have reached out or put letters to the editor and things like that. There's certainly a desire to have their input heard, and so I think if we could sort of find a way to, whether it be a survey or whatnot, to see just what are the characteristics that they desire beyond the qualifications of a
Right.
principal. What would they like? What would the picture be that they'd like to see in their dream person?
Teresa?
Irving is going through a principal search, and one of the things that they did to speak to your, survey is they asked faculty, what questions would you ask, so that they could get specific on what they're looking for in, and whether you use them or not, but at least you have some idea rather than a survey,
That's more specific, yeah.
In addition to survey.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else on that? So I'm sure we'll be hearing more on this.
And maybe, students, it seems like the students have had, expressed what they might want in an administrator, and it might not necessarily be part of the job description, but some qualities that they'd like to see incorporated.
And if anyone else on the committee has any other suggestions, let us know. Okay. I think the only two things we have left to do are approval of minutes. Is that correct? Did I miss anything? Hope not.
Motion
So-
to approve the minutes?
Can we
Both
group
sets? You wanna
both
go
sets
separate?
together? Is that okay with people,
Both
or do
sets.
they have an objection?
Go
to that?
for it.
All the minutes.
Okay, January 16th
Second.
and January 22nd, approval of minutes as a group. Do we have a second? Timmy, thank you. All is in favor? Any problems? No, we're good. Okay, any other agenda requests, please let us know as soon as possible, because next week is school vacation. So we are doing our initial agenda planning tomorrow.
I just have a question about the positions that were proposed. Are we gonna vote on those, or there's a lot of folks that weren't here tonight, and I don't know if is that conversation kind of done, or do we have to actually vote on it? What's the process with that?
Now,
Does
the
it have
next
to be
thing is
figured
to-
out by the end of the budget?
You could make talking
thing, or-
about the budget on an agenda item as frequently as you want, but the vote is on March 12th.
Right, but those questions about those positions and, involving some of the members that weren't here, and kind of just deeper dive into whether we want those in there or not in there, I think should maybe be figured out. Like adding the positions in the budget, the changes since the last time we kind of did the preliminary. I don't know if we need to talk about that more.
We don't
That's
vote
the consensus, or,
on staffing
right. We
selection.
vote on like the budget.
Yes.
I mean, we
As a
could
whole,
certainly
but
ask more questions.
Just the
or-
page that was like the added stuff of when are we gonna vote on that again, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that, we don't
How much more
vote
do we have to talk about that?
individually on that. But we can certainly talk about it.
Well, that's the
provide
question, how much
guidance.
more
Yeah.
individually do we have to talk about?
We can discuss any of it, but we only vote for the numbers. That's
Okay.
our responsibility.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a good
clarifying,
question to
and,
ask.
and there's, quite a few voices that might not have been heard tonight, so.
Yep, and that's true. And also, people have had the information, and definitely, I hope they will get any questions. If they weren't able to bring them up tonight, get us the questions, and I'll bring it up at the next meeting for sure. Thank you.
I just didn't know if we had to separately vote on that, so that's what I was asking, so.
Great question, okay. And the next scheduled meeting is February 26th, right here, 6:30. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Heather moved, Mike seconded. Thank you.
Aye.